Guys, today's video is Husqvarna 572 XP versus the Stihl 462C. Today we're going to put two pro saws against each other, direct competitors, Husqvarna versus Stihl. I have no idea which one's going to win, but we're going to have a blast today. We're going to tell you which one of these pro grade saws kicks butt the most. All right? Woo! Alright guys, welcome to the Stoney Ridge Farm Channel. This is your first time here. This is a 150-acre first generation farm project, and we love tools. We love everything country boy. So we're here at the log pile, and directly behind you is the Wood-Mizer LT40 sawmill. So we got the log pile out here, and we've got a oak that we're going to be sacrificing a few pieces off of today. So we're going to be putting the 572 XP from Husqvarna against the Stihl 462C, the direct competitor in the 70cc class of pro chainsaws here. These saws both cost right around $1,000 to $1,200 depending on the options. You can get heated handles and extra long bars. I think some of them both saws I think come factory with 20-inch bars, but both of these have been upgraded to 24-inch bars. I prefer a 24-inch bar. It saves my back from having to bend over all the time. So we got a few specs we're going to go through on each one of these saws, and then we're going to fire them up. They're cold right now. I have not started them, so you're going to get to see the cold start, everything you need to know about these chainsaws. Before we start talking about the chainsaws, I've showed this thing before a million times. I'm going to put a link down in the video description. This is the chainsaw toolbox, toolbox and fuel tank. It is super awesome. There's a toolbox on this side right here that you can store all your goodies in, and there's also little slide ins that we can put. Where'd that scrinch go? Scrinch, there it is. Oop. You can put your tools in right here, so you don't need to carry three things: the toolbox, the bar oil, and the gas. It's all in one. I'll post a link right down there in the video description for you guys. I love this thing. I wouldn't be telling you about it if I didn't like it. So let's get busy. We'll start with the Stihl. We'll give you the specs, and then we'll give you the specs on the Husky. Here's the 462C in all of its beauty. It's a very, very nice saw. We'll remove the scabbard. This does come with the scabbard, and it has a Stihl Roll-O-Matic ES bar. Okay, this is the 25-inch bar. Stihl calls it a 25-inch bar. Pretty similar to most saws of this caliper. When you talk about a homeowner grade saw versus a pro saw, you're just in another world of displacement versus horsepower. So this machine has 72.2 cc's. It's 5.9 horsepower. Our fuel tank and our oil is right here. So here's our fuel tank, 720 cc's or 24.35 ounces, 340 cc's of bar oil or 11.5 ounces. That's a very big bar oil capacity right there. So very impressive. Now, here's the telltale. When I open it, will it hiss? We're going to open these. This has the Stihl flip up open, similar to what the Husky has. We're going to turn it and see if we get a hiss. Yep. Poof. Fuel popped out, okay? Okay, we've got a little bit of pressure built up in the fuel tank right here. It's a 50-to-1 fuel tank, fuel to oil ratio. And again, this will take up to a 36-inch bar on here, okay? But I think it comes stock with the 20-inch bar. Now, this apparatus right here for biting into your wood, you guys tell me what that's called. Post a comment down there. Let me know what you call that. That right there is a little more aggressive on the Stihl saw than it is on the Husqvarna saw. This has what you call the, Elasto Start pull handle right here. I don't know what that means, but I think it means it's got a little rubberized elastic piece right inside there. So when you pull it, it's a little gentler on your hands, okay? I don't know if the Husky has anything like that, but we'll see. Just like any saw of this size, you're gonna have a compression release right there. We'll press that in before we start it. And let's open this thing up and get into the meat and potatoes of the inside of this saw. So we'll pop 3 tabs right here. And to remove this, all you need is a chainsaw tool or a scrunch to take care of that. That's what this little dude right here is called, a scrunch. Now, these securement screws stay in place, and in there you can see it's fairly clean. Got a little rubber piece in there. I see that thing falling off at some point in the future if we don't watch what we're doing. So if you look at the saw here, your spark plugs right here, compression releases here, you have an electronic carburetor setup right here. It's called M-Tronic Intelligent Management Carb Adjustment for clean running. The filter is very, very simple. The air filter on this thing, you just twist it and it slides right out, and then you slip it right back on there, just like so. Now you have a little tab in here that sits right there, and that's for winter or summer use. It's a little tab, and we'll pull it out. That's what it is, and we've got it set up. It's cold out here, it's winter time. So even though I'm wearing a t-shirt, it's still cold. I run a little hot. So we'll put this cover back on. Very simple. Again, 3 tabs. Kind of shake it a little bit as you install it. We'll turn these about a quarter turn, and they'll lock right back into place. Very, very simple. Nice. Now I used this saw yesterday and it felt awesome. I mean, this thing is a rock star of a chainsaw. It's hard to not buy a chainsaw of this caliper and be impressed. It's a super duper awesome saw. So this is your chain brake. Everything feels good, feels ergonomic. Very nice for cutting sideways like this also. So this is your kickback chain brake right here. And your trigger right here feels really good. It's got a good feel, a nice rubberized finish right there. We'll squeeze this handle, we'll pull that trigger, and we'll push down to choke, okay? And we'll pull to start. We're gonna fire these up here in just a minute. So I'm gonna kick that choke off, and we're gonna set this saw to the side and pull over the Husqvarna, and we'll give you the specs on it. This is my baby right here. This again is the 572 XP. Now, we don't have the fancy elastomer pull handle on here to make the grip easier. I don't know if that's going to be a point of failure on the other saw eventually, whether it'll get oil on it and break down. I don't know. It's just simple, very easy to pull. Again, you have a compression relief valve right over here. You can just mash that down. And this again is the 24-inch bar, and this is the bar by Husqvarna. It says made in Canada. I think the Stihl is made in Germany, okay? So again, these are pro level saws, guys. These are really, really nice saws. Let's talk about how the cover comes off here, and we'll get into the guts of this chainsaw here. So this one's a little different. You've got flip tabs right here. So really, to be honest with you, the Stihl having the screw seems to make a little more sense to me, because you're wedging on the top of your nice pretty chainsaw, and it's not going to stay pretty forever. I know it'll be tossed around the back of the pickup, but in my opinion, that locking mechanism in the Stihl might have been a little more easier on the lid for this saw. So this one has a 70.6 cc, where the Stihl has a 72.2 cc. This is 5.8 horsepower, where the Stihl is 5.9 horsepower, okay? Let's, before we do that, let's snap that back in place. It snaps back in place rather easy, okay? Let's talk about fuel, everything we need to know there. So this is very similar to the Stihl. The Stihl has a little flip up tab. This you press, okay? I would say that that would be easier to access with a thick pair of gloves on. You can depress them. Let's see if we get the hiss back when we open up the fuel tank. And the fuel tank on the Stihl was how many cc's? 720 cc's, and the fuel tank on this, or 24.35 ounces, and this is 25.6 ounces. So a little bit better fuel, 50-to-1 ratio also, and the oiler capacity on this is 11.2 ounces, where the oil on the Stihl was 11.5 ounces. So plenty of oil capacity, pretty much apples to apples. Let's see if we get a hiss. Yep, it hissed, and it spit fuel out on my hand just a little bit right there. So that's the answer for both saws. Both saws will spit a little bit of fuel out. Bar oil, very easy to access. Now, something I'm noticing on this Husky saw that I didn't notice on the Stihl saw is the suspension system. I can see it moving as I'm moving the saw. You can see it kind of holding steady with the handle here, and the suspension system in this thing is moving. So maybe create a little less fatigue. We'll see when we get ready to fire them up. Now, we'll pop this cover off. Again, 3 tabs, 2, okay, 3. Okay, now The Stihl does not have this. This has the little bubble. Again, you depress that a couple times, 2 or 3 times, and you start cranking your chainsaw. You'll choke it after you do that. So we'll pull the cover off, slip this guy off, and there is the meat and potatoes and guts of that. So there are no fasteners on here to fall off or get loose or rattle around, where the Stihl did have some fasteners, and it's got a little more decorative look to it. So it looks a little meaner, the Husqvarna does. Set this guy to the side. Again, this has an intelligent fuel management. It's called auto tune, and it'll adjust to temperature and altitude. This saw's been used a little bit more than that Stihl, and this one has a twist, a little cap that you twist off, and you can remove your air filter, just like so, okay? Simple design, very simple design. The press-on design with the Stihl is definitely more I guess ergonomic. I would say it's a little easier to handle. I'm going to be honest with you, totally honest with you. Where the spark plug goes in right here on the Stihl, it's a little bit tighter inside there, but both of these have an intelligent fuel management system, and this one also has an over revving protection in here. It's called soft cutout. It prevents over rev, okay? So we'll slap this cover back on. Everything looks nice in here. I mean, this is a nice, very, very nice saw. Both these saws are awesome. So here we go. Slide our cover back in place. Drops onto 4 little knobs, little detents. Is the filter on right? You got basically a wedge right here to keep dirt from going into your air filter area right here. So this is separated. The air filter area is separated from the engine compartment. Okay, it's not like that on the Stihl, and which makes it a little bit more cumbersome to slide the cover back on. There we go. Snap her back in place. No tool needed to reassemble. Is it better? You let me know. All right, so without further ado, let's show the handle real quick. This handle is ergonomic, very ergonomic, nice handle. The rubber doesn't go all the way around on the entire side like the Stihl, so that's a little bit different, a little different trigger setup. And again, the on-off switch is backwards on this. It's different than the Stihl. So to turn it off, you press down. In order to choke, you press up, okay? Pull out and lift up. That's how you choke. Press down, and that cuts the saw off, okay? In my mind, I like this better. I like the press down better, because if a saw is gonna kick back on you, which means kick back this way, and your finger or thumb is right here, it's gonna kick back and kill the saw. You're gonna press that, okay? With the Stihl, you actually have to think about it and reach around and flick it up. I'll show you. So again, the Stihl, the movement of the saw, if it kicked back, you're not going to cut it off by pressing down. You have to lift up with your thumb to actually kill the engine on it. I think, in my opinion, the Husky is just a little bit safer when it comes to kicking back, and more of a natural feel for me to press it down versus flick up my thumb to kill the engine on this thing. Now, let's look at the chain covers and the tensioning areas on both these saws and compare the two. Both are pretty well thought out, but one, I think, clearly stands out over the other. All right, guys, I hope you can appreciate this. This is what you want to know about your saw. So you'll loosen these 2 nuts right here very gently. We don't want to over tighten those, okay? We're going to loosen them up. We're going to remove this entire setup. And this is how you adjust the tension on your chain. We're going to back it off about 2 turns, and we're going to loosen these nuts, and we're going to show you exactly how it all works. Both of these saws have securement devices to keep the nuts in place. One of them, I don't know, both of them are pretty well thought out. So we slide this off, and the chain tensioner is actually built in to the chain cover right here, the clutch cover, everything right there, sprocket cover, I guess you call it. And that's the chain tensioner, much like you'd see on the consumer grade saw, pretty much. I like it. It works good. Does it make it more of a pain in the butt to reinstall this when you put a new chain? Yeah, you kind of got to find the sweet spot. But both of these saws, again, have a retention thing to hold the nuts in place. This one is, you can see right there, they're just 3 prongs that hold it in place. And we'll show you the one with the Stihl. So we're going to go ahead and tension our chain appropriately. We'll snug these down with our fingers, just like so. Both saws are great saws, guys. What's going to tell the tale is how it feels in your hand. We're going to run several cuts with each saw in this white oak that we have right here below us. Okay, so that's about right. Snug her up. You guys tell me whatever I'm doing wrong. I'd love to hear what I'm doing wrong right here. So here's your chance. If you're a chainsaw scientist, let me know what I'm doing wrong. Tell me how this is biased. Okay, we'll snug this guy down. This scrunch will fit both chainsaws right here. Okay, we'll set this one on the ground. Here we are with the Stihl. Now the Husky, we use the smaller end. The bigger end, we use with the Stihl. So it's got a little bit bigger nut on there. We'll loosen that nut. And our chain tension device is right there in the middle, okay? In the middle of those two nuts. So right here, we'll back that off ever so slightly, and we'll remove our nuts for our cover here. Okay, a little different, as you can see, a little faster, a little bit easier to get the big nuts right here with gloves on, okay? Slides off. These guys sit in here, they just kind of float in there, okay? That's how they sit. So they're secured in there, and your chain tensioner is built into the saw, not into the cover. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? You guys let me know. Would you rather replace the cover, or would you rather have to work on the entire saw? Would you rather just order this cover, or would you rather have to work on the entire saw? So let's tighten this up, get them both about the same tension on the chains. There we go. Snug them down. With both saws, we're going to slightly lift up on our bar as we snug them down for use, okay? And I guess you guys let me know, do you flip your bar every time you sharpen your chain or every other time? What do you do? What do you guys do? Don't need to be gorilla tight, guys. You can break these things. So my my chainsaw mechanic told me one time, he said, take this thing and cut it in half about right there, because that's how tight you need to make it. I had been over tightening, and I actually pulled the studs out of one of my Stihl saws. Final thing we're going to talk about, both saws have an adjustable oiler, okay? And both saws are adjustable right here. You just slide it in and adjust your oiler. We have the oilers wide open. This one, just a half a turn, a quick half turn right there, and that adjusts your oiler. The Husqvarna is just a little bit different. There's a little hole right there. Let's grab the Husky. Please tell me how I'm mispronouncing Husqvarna too. I like to hear that. Those things are always helpful. So the adjustable oiler is right here on the Husqvarna. And again, we've got that oiler. We're going to turn him almost wide open here. I had it wide open. I like to sling a lot of oil because it saves my chain. So that's the adjuster there. The Stihl is a little bit deeper down in a hole. So here's a little close-up right there. Is that enough jibber jabber about these saws? Now you know the specs. Now you know which one's bigger. One has a bigger displacement. One has a bigger horsepower. This one has bigger horsepower. This one has bigger displacement. They both weigh about the same. The Husky is a little bit heavier, a tiny bit heavier. It's 14.5 pounds, where the Stihl is 13 pounds. So maybe less fatigue. Let's talk about balance. Okay, you can see the balance there. We'll hold our Husky up, and I think the Husky is a little more, it's heavier. God, it's a lot heavier, you can feel it. The Husky is a little more balanced. So I'll show you again. That's me just kind of holding it up. You can see where the bar lands, and this is the balance of the Stihl. So that 24-inch bar kind of pulls that Stihl down just a little bit, but you're gonna be cutting down anyway. So let's fire them up and drop them in this oak log. We got about a 14-inch oak log right here that we're gonna be putting on the sawmill. We're gonna cut a couple chunks off of it for you. Safety Sam's out right now. We have hearing protection, eye protection, we have a face shield, we have our chainsaw chaps on, and we really should have a chainsaw jacket, but I don't own a chainsaw jacket. So we've got our gloves on, and we have steel toe boots on, okay? These are big, dangerous machines. Wear your protective equipment, especially for that head. They only make one of these for you, okay? So take care of it. Let's get busy, let's chop into this log. We're gonna basically make some oak frisbees. First start of the Stihl chainsaw. Both these saws are cold, ready to rock and roll. We're gonna choke it. Again, the choke on this, we'll squeeze the trigger and we'll push down, and that holds our choke in place. Get her down here on the ground, give her a tug. Chain brake lock. Nice. Feels good, sounds good. Get this frisbee out of here. Gonna let him warm up just a minute. All right, hammer down, baby. Woo! Nice, one more. Buddy, that saw, again, I just did the review on it. That saw put a smile on your face. So now you've heard it. Let's fire up the Husky, and we're gonna do a side-by-side rev sound comparison too. You guys tell me which one you think sounds better. Husky's a little different. We're gonna give our bulb 1, 2, 3 good presses, pull the trigger, and we actually pull out and up to put it in choke so you don't have to pull the trigger. We'll get this guy down on the ground and fire him up. Let's see what she sounds like. Okay, choke off. Oh yeah, nice. Got a little more thunder to this one. Let him warm up for a second. All right, let's let him eat. I definitely like the switch right here, the flick switch, but you get used to both of them. Both are great saws. You guys tell me, which one do you think sound the best here? We're gonna give you a little rev comparison. Both saws really cut pretty much the same. There's no arguing that both saws are great saws. These pro grade saws kick butt. You guys let me know what you thought with the footage right there. I'm a big fan of Stihl and a big fan of Husqvarna. Man, it's hard for me to decide. We're gonna cut one more chunk off of each one, let you guys see it, and we're actually gonna let you hear and tell me which engine sounds the best to you. Nice, first pull. Clearly hear that anti-over rev technology working in the Husqvarna. Let's fire up the Stihl, give her one more cut and see what we do. One pull, good saw. The Stihl is most certainly louder, even with hearing protection on. Guys, you tell me, which saw do you like the best? I like them both. I own the Husky. I like the Stihl. The Stihl is really, really nice. So guys, let me know. Tell me what you think. Stihl versus Husqvarna 572 XP versus 462C. Which one's the better saw? Time will tell. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time on the Stoney Ridge Farm channel. I can't really give you an apples to apples. This one's lighter, more powerful, a little louder. This one's heavier, cuts good, feels good in your hands. Both of them are great saws. You guys tell me, all right? We'll see you next time on the Stoney Ridge. Yeah!
Bring your wife and bring your kids. We're living life pure and sweet. That's the way it's supposed to be, Stoney Ridge.